Emma never believed in fate. She thought love was built, not destined, a quiet agreement between two people to stay, rather than some magical force that pulled them together. And yet, the first time she met Daniel, something about him unsettled that belief. It happened on an ordinary afternoon in a small, bustling coffee shop. Emma was tucked away in the corner with her notebook open, scribbling fragments of ideas she might one day turn into short stories. Writing wasn't her career, it was her refuge. Words helped her tame the whirlwind of emotions she carried around but rarely expressed. Daniel walked in as though he belonged there. He wasn't loud, but his presence drew the eye. Searching for a seat, he found only one empty chair, across from Emma. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. She hesitated, then nodded. "Go ahead." He set down his cup and pulled out a book. Not a phone, not a laptop, a physical book with a worn cover. That small detail struck her. They sat in silence for a while, two strangers sharing a table but living in separate worlds. Then Daniel looked up. "Are you a student?" Emma shook her head. "Not anymore. Just writing for myself." "Then you're a writer," he said matter-of-factly. The words made her pause. People usually dismissed her notebooks as a hobby, something trivial. But Daniel spoke with such conviction that she almost believed it herself. That was how it began, a single afternoon, a single sentence, a single spark. The slow unfolding over the weeks, Emma and Daniel kept running into each other at the same coffee shop. At first, it felt like coincidence. Later, it became routine. Sometimes they talked, about books, about music, about the small details of their days. Other times, they shared silence, each absorbed in their own pages but comforted by the other's presence. Emma learned that Daniel worked in design. He wasn't obsessed with climbing a career ladder, he liked creating things that felt human, useful, and beautiful. He learned that Emma, though working an office job, dreamed of finishing a novel. They were different in many ways. Emma was cautious, slow to trust, always afraid of giving too much of herself. Daniel was steadier, more open, willing to risk closeness. Yet those differences felt like pieces of a puzzle. Still, Emma resisted. She had been hurt before, promises broken, affections fading, and part of her believed that love always came with an expiration date. Daniel seemed too kind, too genuine. It felt safer to keep a distance. But he had patience. He didn't push, didn't demand. He simply showed up, again and again, until Emma found herself looking forward to his presence more than she wanted to admit. A moment of choice one rainy evening, after weeks of half-conversations and hesitant smiles, they found themselves leaving the CAF together. The streets were slick with water, lights reflecting in puddles. Emma had forgotten her umbrella, and Daniel offered to walk her home. They shared the same umbrella, shoulders brushing, laughter spilling out as they dodged puddles. Something about the closeness made Emma's heart race. At her doorstep, there was a pause. The air felt charged. Daniel's eyes searched hers, asking a question without words. Emma's instinct was to retreat, to say good night quickly and vanish into the safety of her apartment. But for once, she didn't. She let the silence stretch, let the possibility hover. And then Daniel said softly, "You don't have to answer now. But I want you to know, I like being with you. More than just this." Emma's throat tightened. Fear and hope warred inside her. She wanted to say something, but all she managed was a quiet, "I know." It wasn't much, but it was enough. Shadows of the past. Every love story has its obstacles. For Emma, the shadow came from her past. She had once been in a relationship where she gave everything, only to be left behind. The memory of abandonment clung to her like a scar. As her bond with Daniel deepened, the old fear returned. What if he left too? What if she wasn't enough? Sometimes she withdrew without explanation, avoiding calls or canceling plans. Daniel noticed, of course. One evening, after she had pulled away for days, he showed up at her door, not angry, but concerned. "Emma," he said gently, "I don't know what I did wrong. But if you're afraid, talk to me. Don't shut me out." She wanted to tell him everything. How she feared loving too much, how she braced herself for the pain of being left. But vulnerability felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Instead, she whispered, "I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to trust that it won't fall apart." Daniel reached for her hand. "Then let's figure it out together. I am not asking you to promise forever. Just today. One day at a time." Something in his steadiness broke through her fear. That night, for the first time, Emma allowed herself to believe in the possibility of a future, not because love was guaranteed, but because she wasn't alone in the risk. The breaking point months passed. Their connection grew deeper, but so did the weight of Emma's insecurities. One evening, after a small misunderstanding spiraled into a heated argument, Emma said words she instantly regretted. "Maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. Maybe you'd be better off without me." The silence that followed felt unbearable. Daniel's expression tightened, hurt flickering in his eyes. But instead of leaving, he said firmly, "You don't get to decide for me. If you want to walk away, that's your choice. But don't tell me what I feel. Don't tell me it'd be better off without you." Tears filled Emma's eyes. For so long, she had been bracing for him to leave. The thought that he might actually fight to stay shook her. "I am scared," she admitted in a broken voice. "I know," Daniel whispered, pulling her into his arms. "And I'll keep reminding you, I am not going anywhere." That night marked a turning point. Emma realized love wasn't about eliminating fear, it was about choosing someone despite it. The leap of faith seasons changed. Emma finished the first draft of her novel, something she had never dared to complete before. She gave it to Daniel to read, terrified of his reaction. When he finished, he looked at her with quiet pride. "It's beautiful. You're beautiful in it." Emma felt something shift inside her. For years she had doubted herself, doubted love, doubted permanence. But Daniel had shown her that trust could grow, slowly but surely, like a fragile plant nurtured with patience. One evening, they returned to the same coffee shop where they had first met. The seats were full, except for one, the same corner table. They sat down, smiling at the coincidence. Emma pulled out her notebook. Daniel pulled out his book. For a moment, it felt like nothing had changed, and yet everything had. Looking at him across the table, Emma finally allowed herself to say the words she had been holding back for months. "I love you." Daniel's face lit up with warmth. He reached across the table, taking her hand. "I've been waiting to hear that." Years later, when people asked Emma and Daniel how they met, they always smiled. They didn't talk about grand gestures or instant sparks. Instead, they told the story of a crowded coffee shop, a shared table, and a simple sentence, "Then you're a writer." Their love wasn't built on perfection. It was built on patience, on honesty, on choosing each other again and again even when fear threatened to drive them apart. Emma no longer questioned whether love was fate or choice. She understood now that it was both, a thread that appeared when least expected, but stayed strong only if both people held on. And in the quiet moments, sitting across from Daniel with her notebook open, she knew she had found something rare, not just love, but a home in another person's heart. In the quiet rhythm of their days together, Emma often caught herself marveling at how love had quietly rewritten her story. What once seemed fragile and uncertain had grown into something steady, something she could lean on. She realized that happiness was not born from grand declarations, but from the thousand small moments Daniel gave her, the way he remembered her favorite tea, the gentle patience in his voice when she doubted herself, the laughter that filled even the simplest evenings. Daniel, too, found himself changed. He had always believed in connection, but with Emma, he discovered the profound strength in nurturing someone else's dreams. In standing firm through storms rather than waiting for only sunny days. Together, they learned that love wasn't the absence of fear or conflict, it was the decision, again and again, to stay, to listen, to choose one another despite imperfection. And so, as time carried them forward, their story became less about beginnings and more about continuance. They had not simply found love, they had built it, day by day, like a house made of light, sheltering them both. Like and subscribe to the channel.